G'day, Mark Holloway, markhollowaytv.com. How to choose which is best, radio or newspaper for your advertising. Well, there's two answers to that question. The first is pretty simple. It's this. The law of absolutes has it that one of those two types of advertising, radio or newspaper, is going to be best for you, and the way to find out is test and measure. And this is how you test and measure. You take the total cost of the marketing. Let's say you're talking about radio. Let's say you spend $5,000 on radio, and you take the number of sales that you can attribute without any doubt in your mind to that radio advertising. So say for $10,000 of radio advertising you get 5 sales. Well, the cost per sale is $2,000 of radio advertising. Now the same applies to newspaper. You take the full cost of the advertising you've done and the number of sales that you can attribute, and you divide the number of sales into the full cost, and let's say again we have that same equation just to be fair on both. You spend $10,000 and you get 5 sales, so the cost of sale is $2,000. But look, there's actually a much smarter answer. I said there was 2 answers to that question, and that's the first. That's based on the fact that if you're going to keep doing marketing that doesn't work very well, then whichever media you use, radio or newspaper, one of them is going to test better, obviously. But if you really want to know the important answer to which works best, radio or newspaper, well, the real answer is possibly neither. And that's because it's actually got nothing to do. The success of your marketing, the number of sales you get, has got absolutely nothing to do with the media that you use. Sorry, radio and newspaper people, but this is how it works. What is most important in your marketing if you want a result is the message. And the message you should use is the same thing your marketing should be saying to your customers and to your prospects, the same thing that you say to customers and prospects when you're in front of them in your business, retailers when you're in your store, solicitors when you're sitting across the desk from them, and so on. The things that you say to your customers and prospects that are most likely to turn them into sales, they should be in your marketing. Now some of you will say, well, most of my customers come from word of mouth, and so they probably do. Good on you. So what should you do about your marketing? Don't you want to increase your sales? You just want to sit there and accept the amount of word of mouth you're getting now? If you want to increase your sales, what you do is you have to use what works in word of mouth in your marketing. And that is simple. You find out what your customers are saying to each other, and you say that in your marketing. Now here's a little secret. You can be just about guaranteed that what you say to your customers and prospects when you're talking to them direct is pretty much what they say to each other behind your back, and that's where word of mouth comes from. So the first thing you do when you're wondering which sort of media you should use, and there's a lot more than radio and newspaper, there's obviously web and email and customer evenings and sales letters and phone calls and you know, on the list goes. When you're wondering which sort of media you should do, forget about the media for a minute and think about the message. Have a look at what you're doing, and if it hasn't got the same message in it that you would say to people when you're in front of them, or they say to each other when they're word of mouthing, when they're talking behind your back, then it's not going to work. So the first step is make sure that that message is in your marketing, whether it be an email or a radio ad or a newspaper ad or a sales letter or a customer evening, and then pick which medium is absolutely the cheapest, because you might as well test the messages for the lowest possible cost. Now normally it's cheaper to send an email or to send a letter, quite often anyway, than to run an ad in the newspaper or the radio station. So give some thought to that. That's Mark Holloway signing out.